Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. I am Alina and I am Canvas and Conversation. I'm a mobile paint party here in Evansville, and I travel around town to do in-home parties and group parties at your location. But we're doing this via virtual today. So because Halloween's next week and the full moon, we're going to do the spooky house. So let's just get started. Hopefully you've got all your supplies ready. If you don't have a kit from me and you're just doing this on your own, following along with the video, you're going to need black paint, orange paint, yellow paint, white, and maybe a little bit of brown. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, the first thing I'm going to have you do is, I have a 6-inch paper plate. This is my 11 by 14 canvas, so I'm going to use this paper plate that I'm going to use later to mix my paint on. And I'm just going to hold it up to my canvas here, and with a pencil, outline it, and this is my moon. I find that this is a good size for moons on this size of canvas. So you're just going to lightly outline your moon on that, and then you're ready to go because circles are hard to do. Alright, so now that we have our circle outlined, I'm going to use my biggest brush, and I have my paint on my palette now. And you can work out of the cups if you have a kit for me. If not, use your paper plate as a palette. And I'm going to use a lot of white. I have my biggest brush here. I'm going to use a lot of white and a little bit of yellow here to make my pale yellow moon. And I'm just going to start and fill this in. I'm using my biggest brush. I'm going to try not to stand in front of it. And now if you want a really spooky moon, you can use more orange in it. I'm going to add a little orange to it here in a minute. But I'm just going to go right up into that edge. Maybe use a little more yellow around the edge. I find that to get a nice smooth edge, it's easier to do one smooth stroke than it is to do little ones like this to get that nice smooth edge. And then I'm really going to blend it with some white here in the middle. Now, I don't mix one specific color. I like to let my brush mix colors. I'm just going to keep working that until I get my moon the way I want it. So we have my big full moon here. And then, I'm not going to rinse my brush. I'm going to pick up some orange. I'm just going to, like I said, pick up orange right on my brush, and then I'm going to start along the outside of my moon with this orange. And I know I've got a little white and a little yellow on my brush, and that's okay. And I'm going to just start filling in. And then the next time I pick up, I'm going to use just straight orange around. And what I want to do is I want to create this. Now, I'm not going to leave this a solid line. I'm going to actually use my brush once I get it down, once I get a nice edge around here. I'm going to use my brush, and I'm just going to feather that in, my orange, into my moon. We're going to spend a lot of time doing our moon and doing our background, because that's what a lot of this is. It's just the background. And then I'm going to kind of come out so I don't have, so now my moon is a big yellow moon, but it's also got a little orange cast to it. And I'm just really going to blend that in. We're going to have our big October harvest moon, our spooky Halloween moon. I'm just really going to blend that out and just use my brush and use all the paint. I don't want to have big globs of paint on my canvas because I want it to dry and I also want it to blend. So I'm going to use that. And then the next time, I know it's going to sound a little weird, we'll come back to our moon. So I've just used so far white and yellow and orange. And again, I'm just going to keep blending until I get it the way I want it. Nice smooth strokes around my moon here. And then I'm even going to come out here and just kind of clean my brush out. And the next time I'm going to pick up a little bit of black and a little bit of orange together, because black and orange will actually make a brown. And I'm going to start over in this corner here. And again, I'm letting my brush mix that color. And that black and orange, the orange actually has a lot of white in it, believe it or not. And I'm just using acrylic paint, so it's going to come off your hands, out of your hair if you happen to get it on you. It may or may not come out of clothes, so if you do get it on your clothes, you may want to get it right away. But again, I'm using just a little black and orange together to make this brown, and I want it to be fairly dark, but I don't want it to be super, super dark, because I want to make sure that my tree will show up. So if it gets super, super dark, maybe add a little more orange to it. Don't add white to your black, you're going to get gray. So I'm going to go right up to my edge here. And I'm just going to follow that circle around it. I'm going to do the same thing over in this other corner. And the reason I'm starting in the corners is that way I can add, once I get my dark corners down, and you'll notice I'm doing my edges as I come to them. We'll do the bottom edge here in a minute. I'm just kind of doing those edges as I come to them, because you want to have a nice edge on it. So when it hangs on your wall, it looks nice. So I'm adding a little black and a little orange. And again, that black and orange together make a brown. If you want to use just brown, you can do that. So when I got up to this corner and I'm getting closer to my moon, I'm just going to use whatever's left on my brush and really blend that in and feather that into my orange that's already there. Again, do your edges as you come to them. And then you can pick up just some straight orange and that'll help that blend. And you can go right up until your edge of your moon here. And that's why I started in the corner, so I can kind of control how that comes up to the moon. And again, I want it to be pretty dark around my edges, but then when I get close to my moon, I'm just going to pick up some more orange and whatever brown black is in my brush and just kind of blend that in as I get closer to my moon. Just using those around the edges here, just blending. A little hazy October moon. And just pick up colors as you need them. The one thing I can say is use enough paint to blend it, but not too much, because you don't really want to have big stripes. You want to make sure that blends. And the way to do that is just to add a little more paint. And so again, I'm using black and orange to create this brown. And now I'm down to the edge down here. And what I'm going to do, and now that I've got that edge, I'm going to flip my canvas upside down for just a minute. If you're using an easel, if you're working on a tabletop or something, you can go ahead and paint that edge. But I'm going to use just some straight black. I'm going to go ahead and get the spot here I missed. I'm going to use just some straight black, and I'm going to put in kind of a hill along this edge here, just a little bit of ground. It's about an inch, inch and a half. It can be curvy, it can be straight, and I'm just going to paint that straight black. And that way I've got my edge, and I've got my black ground here, and then I can flip my canvas back right side up. Yeah, I got a little bit on my hands. Again, it'll wash off your hands, a little soap and water, no big deal. Okay, so now I'm done with my big brush. I'm actually going to put that in my cup of water and leave it there until I'm done, and I can clean everything up at once. So it's always good to have a cup of water next to you. And then I'm going to pick up my medium-sized brush. And for my medium-sized brush, we got to do our house and our tree and our little graveyard there. So I'm going to use my medium-sized brush. If you feel more comfortable with your little brush, you can do that as well. I'm going to use my medium-sized brush to start. And I'm going to start with my house because I want to make sure that my house gets put over my moon so we can see the gaps in the windows there. And the spooky house is really just some elongated triangles with a little whimsy to it. So I'm going to start with my tallest one. And I'm just going to make kind of this curvy triangle peak. So there's one peak, and then I'm going to come over here and do another one. Curvy triangle, maybe it's a little bigger. Everybody's house can be a little bit different. And then once I have my curvy triangle, I can go ahead and add this part. Then you can kind of come in, and we're just going to outline this. We're going to make a little trapezoid shape. This is the tall part of my house. This one comes down and meets here. So these are just basic shapes. They can be as whimsy as you want them to be. Just some basic triangles. I'm going to make this one over here. This. So everyone's going to be a little bit different. Mine will probably be different from the original. And then my two sides over here are going to come together and meet down here on my ground. So it kind of looks like this castle shape right now. It's just super spooky. And then I'm going to add some of my balconies and my little porch, and they're just little lines. My suggestion is really load your brush up with some black paint, and we're just going to add these in. I'm going to make this one up here a little higher. It's just a little line that comes out, and a couple little bars, nobody falls off. Little balcony over here. And this one's kind of the roof to a porch, so I'm going to add my little porch too. It comes out over here. And my little porch. And this one over here as well. Here's your porch that comes out. And there we have the outline of our house. Now I'm going to use my baby brush because it's a little bit easier. And I'm going to outline my windows, wherever I want my little windows to be. So I'm just going to do a little line and an arch that goes up over them. And I'm going to do my little crosshairs in them. You'll notice I use my pinky and I just steady my hand on my canvas. We're just going to add these little crosshairs in there. I'm going to add my little window over here. Now your windows can be square, they can be arches, however you see fit. I'm not worried about the lines being particularly straight because it's a spooky house, right? This one can be a little angled. And then I'm going to use my baby brush, and I'm going to do a little dot right here on top while I have my baby brush in my hand. And I'm going to do like a little mustache shape on top and along my edges here. Again, that's a little dot on top. You can do it however you like. And then a little mustache shape. And my little curls there on the end of these. And now I'm going to so now that I've got my little curly cues on there and my windows put in, I'm going to put that baby brush in my cup of water for just a minute. I'm going to come back to my medium-sized brush, and I'm just going to fill in around my windows the rest of my house with just some straight black here. So I'm going to just fill that in. Now pay attention that you are going around your windows. It's easy to get kind of happy painting and you'll fill over them and you'll lose your window. I'm just going to fill that in. Bottom here. And there's our house. We're getting nice and filled in here. And now we're going to add our tree. So I'm going to use that same medium-sized brush, and I'm going to load it up with paint. And I'm going to kind of take a deep breath. And now you can always make your trees bigger. You can't make them smaller. So I always say to start small in your trunk, but you do want your trunk to kind of taper. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom. And I'm going to go pretty high up and just draw a black line, and then I'm going to do one on the other side where it's just close to it, kind of tapers out at the bottom. So you're really only about a brush width on your medium brush wide right in here. And then I'm going to add a couple more big limbs that come out. Now you'll notice I'm not trying to make my limbs perfect. Tree limbs are exactly how they grow. You know, trees don't care how they grow. So I'm going to add that in. These are my big limbs. And then while I still have this medium-sized brush, I'm going to load it up with paint, and I'm going to put in my little brave stones down here, and they're just little arches. You can do them however you like. I just did little arches here. I like sets of 3 because 3 works better visually. Odd numbers work better. So you can do 3, you can do 2 on one side, and 1 on the other. That's what I'm going to do here. So here's my 3 little gravestones that I have. I'm using my big brush. They're just a little arched up there. I'm also going to put a little jack-o'-lantern down here. He's just a little ball right now. Sitting there by the porch. And then I'm going to put my big brush back in my cup of water and leave it. I'm going to go back to my baby brush. Now, if you've had your baby brush in your cup of water, just dry it up on your paper towel. Make sure it's good and dry. We don't need any extra water in your brush. I'm going to go back to that just straight black paint, and I'm going to put in my baby limbs for my tree. And the way I do this is I kind of hold my brush at an angle, and I roll it as I'm drawing these tree limbs, and that gives me a very organic tree limb. It's kind of spooky. So I'm not doing it straight on, kind of at an angle. Now, it's easy to get too many. You can pick up right where your other ones left off if you want them to taper out a little more. And I'm just kind of lifting my brush away as I come to the edges. Make sure my tree limbs connect here. So I'm doing a couple things here. I'm picking up on the edge of tree limbs so they taper out on my big ones. And I'm also adding a bunch of these little ones. You can have as many or as little limbs as you like. Like I said, this is our spooky tree. Have some babies here, little twigs. Now I'm going to use this baby brush. I'm going to add in a few little bats too, so you can add your bats wherever you see fit. Again, odd numbers work best. So I got little ones there, and then I'm going to add some little crosses to the top of my graveyard here. Again, these are all just little things, kind of just like that. Now, if you want to come back and you might be able to add a little yellow or a little orange. I'm going to try some orange here. Add a little face to your pumpkin. You think it needs to have a little jack-o'-lantern face there. However you want to dress it up, but that's basically our spooky little house. So, happy Halloween, happy trick-or-treating, and have a good day. Thank you for joining me.